Have you ever heard somebody use the phrase that a doctor is guilty of malpractice or not guilty of malpractice? Let me tell you why that terminology is so wrong and doesn't apply in these civil lawsuits here in New York. Hi, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury attorney practicing law here in the state of New York. When somebody says that a doctor is guilty of malpractice, what they really mean to say is that a jury has determined that they violated the basic standards of medical care, or they departed from good and accepted medical practice. That's what they're trying to say. The fact that they're using the terms guilty or not guilty refers instead to criminal cases. Now, you should know something really important. In these civil actions, they have nothing to do with a doctor being accused of any crime. So that's really important to understand when you hear somebody say that a doctor is guilty or not guilty of malpractice. Instead, in a civil lawsuit, the only thing we are looking to show is that we are more likely right than wrong that a doctor violated the basic standards of medical care. Or in other words, that they departed from good and accepted medical practice. That's what we are trying to show. And we only have to show that we are more likely right than wrong that what we are claiming is true. So now when a jury reaches their verdict, they don't turn around and say the doctor is guilty of malpractice. No, that's what you might read about in the newspapers or a news reporter saying that in a newscast. But instead, the correct terminology is that a doctor violated the basic standards of medical care. They were careless. Their medical negligence is what it really is. So now, instead of saying the doctor is guilty or not guilty, that's inaccurate. That only applies to a criminal case. In these civil lawsuits where we are seeking compensation for all the harms and losses and injuries that my client suffered, this has nothing to do with guilt or innocence. Instead, we only have to show that we're slightly more likely right than wrong. And if we can do that, now the jury is obligated to compensate the injured victim for all of their injuries that they suffered. So why do I share this quick information with you? I share it with you just to give you an insight and an understanding into what goes on in these civil lawsuits here in New York, and it's something that we hear each and every day that's reported in the newspapers and on the news and TV. You know, I understand you're watching this video because you likely have questions or concerns about your own particular matter. Well, if your matter did happen here in New York and you're thinking about bringing a lawsuit, but you have questions that need answers first, what I invite you to do is pick up the phone and call me. I can answer your legal questions. You know, this is something I do every single day, and I'd love to talk to you. You can reach me at 516-487-8207 or by email at Gerry, Gerry, at oginski-law.com. That's it for today's video. I'm Gerry Oginski. Have a wonderful day.